Yo, 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 it's rowdy, rowdy, bowdy, bowdy. That's what Conan used to say. I'm Dominic D'Angelo of SEScoops.com, adfreeshows.com, and OneTrueSportTV.com. But it's Rumor and Innuendo on adfreeshows.com. And I am here, per usual, with Mr. Robert Karpelis, WD, creative_ish. Robert, happy Wednesday to you. You know what that means.
It means that you're going to not quote Conan anymore, since I don't like Conan or get along with Conan or enjoy thinking about Conan.
Oh,
yes, maybe, possibly. No. All right. Wednesday means it is the Dynamite.
That's right. It is the Dynamite. We have other things to talk about as well that I want to get perspective on. But yes, the Dynamite is going to blow up maybe tonight. Let's get some shout outs to folks here in the chat. Dre Owen says happy hump day. There are more matches announced for Raw and NXT next week than Dynamite tonight. That's correct. Wrestling Old Head says AEW Dynamite winner is going. Bad weather for sure does follow AEW a ton. Wrestling Old Head says Dom Oil of Olay Arriba. Oh my God, Arriba Rasa. All right, Giant Disco. Good morning, I. A welcome study break today. Jeff Hettinger. Sorry, I missed the show live yesterday. I just went through an emotional breakup with John Cena. My goodness. And Christopher Zantos says good morning, Rumorites. All right, Robert. Yes, I am pretty here. I am pretty excited. Are you?
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Wait, like people said, though, there's only like a few matches announced, which is kind of weird for AEW Dynamite. They usually throw you the whole card out here. We have the AEW World Championship street fight, Robert. It's Jon Moxley versus Cope. Can you cope with another match like this?
Look, this is the only thing that people need to concern themselves with as far as tonight goes, which is a world title match, a match that people paid upwards of, I don't know, $50 for their pay-per-view for their main event, and now they're giving it to you a week and a half later for free, which is stuff we used to see during the Attitude Era quite a bit. So it's kind of an interesting moment right there. I think that this will be the definitive conclusion of the Moxley Cope storyline, which I am so excited about, and I just can't hide it. The fact of the matter is this feud, this story has not really worked. Obviously, pretty much anything involving the Death Riders at this point has been the kiss of death, for no pun intended, for anything that it has involved. So the chance to move on and let Moxley focus on Swerve Strickland, who is the number one contender, definitely a positive. I feel like tonight, since we didn't get it before, this should be the definitive Jay White heel turn. Ooh. Since it is a no disqualification, no holds barred, no rules, no whatever situation, that Switchblade costs Cope the match, and then we can get to a Cope Switchblade feud, which is a fine mid-card match for their next pay-per-view.
I'm so excited for that too, man. An Omaha street fight. That's tonight, guys. Yeah. Just end this Death Riders thing. Can we just end it, please? Just have Swerve just take out everybody and
no,
make it.
They can't. It's like we've come this like we've tried so hard and we've come this far, but in the end, something has to matter. Like there has to be a payoff here. What's in the briefcase? What did Marcellus Wallace send them to go steal? And that is what is in that briefcase. There has to be something. They filmed that vignette 1,000 years ago with the Young Bucks shredding documents and leaving and making some sort of unseen agreement with Jon Moxley. It's got to pay. Like this, it's like watching Lost. Like it's got to pay off, right? The smoke monster is going to interfere in the main event of this match tonight and is going to cost Cope the match. They gave Christian that contract, and the payoff was what we got on pay-per-view a few weeks ago. This is what happens when you care, and this is what we used to feel for years watching WWE programming, that it was your fault for paying attention to the storyline. Now WWE pays attention to the storylines. They map it out. There's a purpose. There's a destination. There's an ending. And Tony Khan, the guy who grew up watching the best of what wrestling had to offer, has now chosen to create storylines that go nowhere, and you never get a definitive finish.
What's one more loose end, though, in AEW, honestly? If this is like one of the worst storylines of all time that they've ever done, which I think it is, then
Dumb.
I don't care if you just burn it immediately.
All right. Dear sweet, naive Dom. In no uncertain terms,
Yeah.
can you call this the worst story AEW has done when we had the Devil storyline?
I don't know, Robert. This seems like a slow drip of death. Like this is like a death by
No.
nuts in
That
comparison to
killed that they lost 500,000 viewers coming off of that Devil storyline. It went on for a long time, and it was brutal. MJF has still not fully recovered from it. Only now in this Hangman feud are we getting glimmers of what he was, and he was the number one hottest guy in wrestling. The bidding war of 2024. Like this was a person that both companies were legitimately interested in. WWE was ready to back up a Brinks truck to sign MJF. AEW backed up a Brinks truck to secure MJF going forward. And look at where he is now. And Adam Cole is what he is. He's a fine utility player on whatever little league baseball team you apparently are playing on, based on the way you're dressed right now.
I'm playing for the Yankees.
It's not going to help us this season.
I don't know. This Death Riders thing has just bugged me to no end, even more so than the Devil angle. But I mean, to your point, they did lose a lot of viewers going through that. So, I mean, hey, but guess what? We still have two on tap for tonight.
I don't know, but that was a spectacular sentence you just strung together right there.
Thanks.
You want to talk about loose ends?
It's an international championship eliminator tournament final. Had no idea this was a final. Had no idea it was going to be a 4-way. They're just throwing these matches together. It's Mike Bailey versus Orange Cassidy versus Mark Davis versus Ricochet. What kind of tournament is this, Robert?
I didn't know it was a 4. I thought that this week we were getting Mike Bailey versus Orange Cassidy in a one-on-one match.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Was it
nope.
always a 4-way finish? Because that did not seem clear. Like, I watched the program last week. Look, end the tournament quickly. That's fine. The international champion is
Kenny
Omega.
Mm-hmm.
This is clearly a way to get us to Kenny Omega Ricochet, which is totally fine by me. When did Mark Davis qualify for this? Was this a collision situation?
Probably a collision. Yeah, probably collision situation.
And then you've got Speedball Mike Bailey, who just debuted into this tournament, and now he'll need something to do. So if he's in there with Mark Davis, maybe this is a way to get us to Speedball versus Kyle Fletcher, which seems like a big match, except is that how you want to be really kind of debuting Speedball, is having him lose a feud?
It doesn't make sense.
Devin Dowling points out that Mark Davis beat Mark Briscoe on Collision.
There we go.
That was probably a hell of a match, quite frankly.
Probably was.
I would be doing so much more with a guy like Mark Briscoe. There are some folks, I've pointed this out for Willow Nightingale as well. They have a Mick Foley energy to them. There's sort of a humanistic vibe to this person where you just naturally love seeing this individual. There's a charisma, there's a realness to it. It's kind of how we felt for a while with Eddie Kingston.
Right.
But Eddie Kingston vanished. Like, there's an authenticity to Mark Briscoe. There's obviously a lot of goodwill with Mark Briscoe beyond just the fact that his brother passed away, but just he's got an infectious attitude. It's a very R-Truth kind of vibe. He made those conglomeration promos almost make sense. Like, they really have the elements on their roster to make an exceptional roster. The problem is that they put a lot of fluff and a lot of extra around it, and you can't keep track of who's who and who's where and what's going on. Dude, they have a TNT title. Did you know that?
What?
Yeah.
What?
Do you know who holds that TNT title?
Honestly, I'm really trying to think right now who holds it.
Danny Garcia.
Does he still? I thought he lost it.
To who?
I don't know. I think he lost it.
Maybe at Customs.
I think
but
he
look,
lost.
No,
you're right. It's Danny Garcia. I seriously thought he lost it.
No, Dom, he's still He's still got it. Your ability to know what's going on in AEW stinks. And guys,
Hey,
you don't have to stink the way Dominic D'Angelo's memory does, thanks to our friends at Mando.
that's nice.
Mando is a whole body deodorant. It is safe to use anywhere on your body. Think of a part of your body that may smell. You can use Mando on it from your I wouldn't say head, because hopefully your face doesn't need deodorant, but anything below the neck, down to your toes, can benefit from Mando. It's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal body odor was being misdiagnosed and mistreated, and it is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. That's longer than it takes Tony Khan to rebook this entire show. Their product options come in solid deodorant sticks and spray deodorants in all their products, regardless of what you pick. Baking soda free, paraben free, and they are proven to control odor better than just a shower with soap alone. And Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with that solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, plus free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Just use code RUMOR at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
Mando. Love Mando. All right. Hey, there's another match to love on AEW Dynamite. It's Megan Bayne versus Chris Statlander, Robert.
Yeah, this should be a really good match. You know, you had the situation where we kept saying Tony Storm doesn't really have a challenger outside of Megan Bayne, and we're going to get a Megan Bayne push. They're giving her the old Brock Lesnar treatment. So hopefully Tony Khan's not texting her anything inappropriate. We don't need any more human sex trafficking situations going on here. But Chris Statlander had a hell of a match against Mercedes Moné back in December, and they followed it up with this 3 months later.
3
So
months later.
Statlander's going to make Megan Bayne look like a killer. I'm sure we'll get a little Penelope Ford situation in there, probably some Thunder Rosa, and ultimately Tony Storm involved, depending on whether, as someone mentioned in the comments, and Tony Khan had tweeted about it, there's a blizzard that's been moving through part of the country, and it has been wreaking havoc on our friends at All Elite Wrestling. I say this looking out right now at 82-degree weather. My pool is glistening. It's a beautiful day here in South Florida. So maybe when routing shows, here's an idea: don't run the dead of winter places in the dead of winter. WWE's learned that mistake before too.
Yeah, trial and error kind of thing. Hey, trial and error. We're going to talk about this. We did talk about this earlier in the week when it was just reported, but now it's confirmed. WWE announced that the roast of WrestleMania featuring Tony Hinchcliffe and friends will take place at the state-of-the-art Blue Live Theater on Sunday, April 20th at 10 p.m. Pacific time as part of WrestleMania week. Hinchcliffe, the internationally renowned comedian.
Tom, we're done.
Okay.
We talked about this yesterday, unofficially, in it being just, and then on Working Stiff. This is a fun little plug and opportunity to mention this here and remind this to Dom. Yesterday, I'd said, Scott Chapp and I were going to record our Patreon for Working Stiff. And then we were chatting with our fellow co-host, comedian extraordinaire Mike Lawrence. And I'm like, dude, we're going to record. You want to hop on? It wound up being such a great show. In the middle of it, we called an audible and said, you know what? This is going to be our main feed show for the week, because we talked all about John Cena's heel promo on Raw, and then we talked about the roast that WWE was scheduling. And it felt so good to be able to use the words that I truly and genuinely wanted to be able to use. A lot of F-bombs flowing on that one, but it is available now wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, and the like. Perfect thing to listen to when you finish listening to this show, when it wraps in about 10 to 15 minutes. But they announced The Miz, who's going to be one of the participants, which makes a lot of sense. Miz is a very funny guy. We've known each other for quite some time. He's got a tremendous sense of humor. He's a dude who can deliver those lines perfectly. Sami Zayn, very funny guy, did his one-man show at the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. He also was part of Moon Tower Comedy Festival. He also did a show with Johnny Knoxville,
Yeah.
and he's got great comedic timing. Braun Strowman is part of the dais. I'm guessing he is the dais that they're going to be sitting on. He's going to be the Rob Gronkowski of this one, just way more ultra right wing and crazy. And then Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman too. Yeah.
That could be very interesting. And then it's Tony and his merry band of misfits and mutants. So if you want to hear a great wrestling roast situation, go into the Working Stiff archive. Back when we were Wrestle Roast, we did over 100 roasts that are on there. Then there's a bunch of others on our Patreon. It was a hell of a lot of fun, and we absolutely killed it with everybody from Bret Hart to Vince McMahon to Hulk Hogan to everyone in between, and Tony Khan, which was a lot of fun. So much fun. We did a second roast of Tony Khan.
Oh, you did too?
Oh, we did too. There was so much meat on that tiny coked out frame. The problem with WWE doing a roast, though, there's a lot of things they can't talk about. So
Yeah.
you're not going to mention Vince McMahon right off the bat because he's currently involved in the Janelle Grant lawsuit, and any potential situation where you're making light of a sexual harassment lawsuit for someone who's actively suing your company, not a good look. There's obviously going to be certain talents that are going to be off limits. Stone Cold Steve Austin famously doesn't have the greatest sense of humor when it comes to some of that stuff. And Ron Ward points out here, speaking of meat, we roasted Conrad. Oh
my.
did we ever roast Conrad Thompson, our impresario here of ad-free shows, but almost always in good fun. Very rarely have I feared for my life when doing one of the roasts. We did do the roast of Ronda Rousey, and I absolutely messaged Shayna Baszler to make sure, hey, if stuff goes down, like, hopefully we don't die. Kurt Angle was another one, but Kurt was a great sport. He loved it. Orton was a big fan of his roast. That made me very happy because the last thing you did you see the Randy Orton tweet yesterday?
Yes, I did. I just saw it today.
Randy Orton deserves to be on the. Randy Orton is a gift from the gods when it comes to humor. Someone had tweeted out a photo where they were hitting on this gal, and he's like, "I would wrestle a bear to get your phone number." No response. Then he wrote back, "I would fight 2009 Randy Orton to get your number," and Orton responded. Randy Orton is the greatest.
It was quality stuff. He knows how to handle this social media, that's for sure.
Dude, he's a funny guy. What else we got on the situation here for this Wednesday, Mr. D?
Yeah, this is something we didn't get to cover yesterday and got announced a couple days ago. But WWE's had a busy week when it comes to announcing things, and they actually announced a WWE ID tournament coming up for WrestleMania week yet again. So we got the WWE Independent Development announced that WWE ID Championship matches will take place at GCW on April 16th and Future Stars of Wrestling on April 18th. Some of the names featured Shawn Legacy, Zeta Steel, Ice Williams, Jackson Drake, Swipe Right, Zara Zacher, and Cappuccino Jones were the ones that currently announced. But more integration here, Robert, coming up with the independent scene and on Vegas WrestleMania week. So some interesting stuff being pulled here for WWE.
Look, it's great to see spotlights getting put on to independent talent as you and I both engage in various forays into the indie wrestling scene.
Mm-hmm.
It only helps grow a larger audience because there are people who may see a local independent wrestling show taking place at a high school gym or at an armory or at a VFW hall, and they might not know anybody who's competing on there. But if they see that WWE ID logo, you're more inclined to go out there and support a local show and see someone that may wind up being on NXT, might be the next big WWE star. I remember years ago going to a Ring of Honor show in Coral Springs in 2008, 2009 at a high school gym.
Mm-hmm.
And on that show, you had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins all in one card. It was an absolute blast. It's kind of one of those, like, you're seeing the indie band before anybody else knows who they are. It's a cool opportunity for these young stars to make a name for themselves. And the way the WWE ID program essentially works is you're signed under this contract where you get the opportunities for exposure and some additional training and get to use that logo. And then if another company approaches you to try to sign you, WWE gets first right of refusal. So
Right.
either you'll wind up getting signed to NXT, or you get snapped up by an AEW Ring of Honor situation. You get snapped up by TNA. That there's that the Canadian promotion that Scott D'Amore is running, that I keep seeing running around out there. So it's gonna get more people, more jobs, more opportunities, more looks, and that's crucial. And what's also crucial, Dom, is making sure that you're eating right here at lunchtime. So the question is, are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. It arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. More importantly, perfect for any idiot like me who has no ability to cook whatsoever. My wife's at work during the day. I work from home. I'm left in this kitchen. This kitchen is completely useless in my hands. I would burn my home to the ground. Thanks
Oh
to
my.
Factor, I got a great meal. It's absolutely delicious. I pop it in the microwave. Idiot-proof instructions, and there are 40 options across eight dietary preferences on the menu each week. So it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Plus, they got a whole bunch of other stuff. They got wholesome smoothies, they got breakfast, grab and go snacks, and more. It is like shopping online, and you don't have to worry about cooking. You don't have to worry about prep. You don't have to worry about cleanup. This is the smartest decision that you and your stomach will make, because you can eat smart with Factor, and you can get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. It's an absolute home run. Baseball's back, which see, we're doing on news radio, one of the greatest shows of all time, despite having Joe Rogan on it, who, whatever.
Oh,
There's a whole bit about them trying to cut a radio commercial about opening day for baseball that is pure gold,
yeah.
and it is Phil Hartman and Dave Foley and Stephen Root, the top of their game. Absolute blast. Go seek that. Go seek out news radio in general.
I've never
All-time
watched
show.
the show. I think it was just I was a little young too at the time.
News
so I
radio
wasn't-
is one of the it's one of these shows that made it onto network TV that is so insanely weird. It starts off so straight-laced and so normal, and then slowly but surely gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And it is one of the best things that you're possibly going to find. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere at the moment.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
be
what I was gonna
perfectly
ask.
honest. Go look it up. Go find it. That's your homework. Your other homework is to go seek out some of the incredible podcasts that are recorded by Mr. Dominic D'Angelo.
Hey, that's right, Robert. Yes, I yesterday I recorded with Greg Gagne, Magnum TA, Straight Talk with the Boss. We cover that John Cena heel promo. Magnum and Greg break it down and give their reasons why they thought it was one of John Cena's greatest promos of all time. So really interesting conversation there. Also, if you're up for an interesting conversation, check out RVD and Sandman at rvdtv.com. That episode is up now, and that's getting some good traction. So you can check that out and give a good listen to it. You can also hear me upcoming at IWC 24. It's the 24th anniversary of the promotion, and we will be having a WID match on there. It's Jack Cartwheel taking on Sam Hardway Holloway. So that should be a very, very fun match. I'm happy to be able to be on the call for that this weekend. It's on Saturday. So keep your eyes out for that. You can watch it on Triller TV, or if you're in the Pittsburgh area, take a look and get some tickets. Robert, you just mentioned Working Stiff, and it was a good one. I tell you what, you guys break down a lot of great stuff on there.
Oh, we had a ball on that episode. Anytime Mike Lawrence joins, who Mike also has a great podcast called Nerd of Mouth, which is worth going and checking out. They have not done a wrestling episode yet, but it is coming up soon. But they've done one on comic books. They've done one on video games. They've done one on anime.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. It's the worst.
I'm not in it.
It's just nope. I would rather watch a 3-hour AEW Dark Elevation taping than watch a moment of any anime related programming. But yeah, we recorded it, myself, Scott, and Mike, had an absolute blast. We talked Raw, we talked the state of wrestling, talked all different kinds of comedy tangents and what it takes to be a warm up act at a TV taping. It's a total blast. And Wrestling Old Head has a great comment here that's important. Talking about News Radio, Paul Sims is now the showrunner of What We Do in the Shadows, which just ended. Also, one of the creators of Atlanta, which came up on the Working Stiff podcast yesterday. So absolutely banger of a show. I don't know when this became a news radio podcast, but it is, and we're going to go with it. And as the cat quickly attacks Dominic D'Angelo, that was terrifying. You and your whole big chain, like you got a total Eddie Kingston vibe going on here. So on behalf of the Eddie Kingston of this podcast, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Check out News Radio. I'm gonna.